Welcome to RPTV Weekly News. I'm Kedar, joined by Gabriel, Marcelo, and Fred, ready to bring you the latest updates from Regent Park and its surroundings.
In this episode, we'll cover important events and community updates from November 8th to November 17th. Stay with us for the news that matter to our community.
Affordable housing units open at 175 Oak Street amid ongoing housing shortage. Rhythms of change. Regent Park's journey through the eyes of Mitchell Cohen. 2024 Roadmap. Redevelopment plans to confront systemic racism. Toronto unveils plan to build 20,000 new rental homes. Ontario government introduces Bill 223 to restrict supervised consumption sites near schools. Union leaders call for reversal of safe injection site closures in Toronto. Events and jobs in the community.
Affordable housing units open in Regent Park. Toronto is adding 24 new affordable housing units in Regent Park at 175 Oak Street, providing a glimmer of hope for residents struggling with the city's housing crisis. Applications for the units, which include 1 and 2 bedroom apartments, are open until December 13th at 11:59 p.m. Monthly rents are set at $1,366 for a 1-bedroom and $1,594 for a 2-bedroom, with income limits of $65,568 and $76,512 respectively. The selection process will use a random lottery system to ensure fairness. Councillor Chris Moyes for Toronto Centre celebrated the development, calling it a step toward meeting the city's growing need for affordable housing. Every additional unit is progress, Moyes said, emphasizing the city's commitment to expanding Toronto Community Housing Corporation, TCHC, stock in Regent Park. With hundreds more units planned in the coming years, the city is slowly addressing the housing shortage. However, advocates stress that much more is needed to meet demand and provide relief to struggling families.
Book launch, Rhythms of Change, Regent Park's journey through the eyes of Mitchell Cohen. On November the 5th, Regent Park's journey of transformation took center stage at the World Urban Forum with the exciting international launch of Rhythms of Change, Reflections on the Regent Park's Revitalization. This amazing book by Mitchell Cohen, CEO of the Daniels Corporation, chronicles Regent Park's renewal from a no-go zone to a thriving, inclusive community and global model for sustainable urban redevelopment. RPTV was on site for this full-day celebration at the World Urban Pavilion, and Gabriel Meissner brings us an exclusive interview with Mitchell Cohen, who shared reflections of the impact of this book to Regent Park community and beyond.
What is your hope for the impact of this book on the Regent Park community?
So what I'm hoping is that people in this neighborhood will really sort of reflect on their accomplishments, because people in this neighborhood have really done a very important and powerful thing. People in the neighborhood came together, created a vision for what this neighborhood could be, how it could evolve, how it could be transformed. This is a vision that came from the ground in the neighborhood. So I'm hopeful that people who were part of that back in the 90s and people who came into the neighborhood after, when we started to sell condominiums, that everyone coming into and being part of this neighborhood feels like they were part of something special, something important, and something that realized a dream and a vision of local residents. So I hope people see themselves in this book. And then what I also hope is that others from outside the community will read the book and say, I have something that I can contribute to my neighborhood. I can emulate what people in Regent Park did, what people in Regent Park accomplished by dedicating myself to making change in my neighborhood, in my community. Everyone has something to contribute. Everyone can make a difference. And I'm hoping that people will see in this book the change that can be made when people come together.
Are there other areas in Toronto that you think could undergo a similar change as the Regent Park neighborhood did?
There's many neighborhoods in Toronto, but also around the world. And we're sitting here right now in the World Urban Pavilion in Regent Park. This space has been set up by United Nations Habitat. because UN Habitat decided that Regent Park was a place to put a global knowledge exchange hub. And that's what this is. That's where we are. The reason is because they're hoping very much that not only Toronto, where there's many neighborhoods that can learn from people from Regent Park, but in fact, neighborhoods from around the world that will take the Regent Park story, make it their own, because every community is different, every community is unique. But to really understand that change is possible if people put their energy and their passion into it. That's what I hope this book will do.
2024 Roadmap. Redevelopment plans to confront systemic racism. Annual party happens in Regent Park. On November 14th, the 2024 Roadmap annual party brought together community members at the World Urban Pavilion in Regent Park, 660 Dundas Street East. The event was hosted by CP Planning, a non-profit urban planning community network practicing a human rights-based approach to community planning. Participants celebrated recent community successes and introduced new resources aimed at empowering local residents.
My name is Kumsa Bakar. I'm here today representing my organization, the Toronto Community Benefits Network. We're happy to be here to celebrate CB Planning's annual party and event. As an organization that's really committed to ensuring that when development happens, that communities benefit. And so really, as we see the revitalization happening in Regent Park, we really want to make sure that the local community really benefits from the redevelopment that's happening here. And so really excited about today's event, but also all the connections and networking that will happen to really make sure that, you know, not only the redevelopment of Regent Park, but also the redevelopment of our communities, our city, the growth that's happening in our region is done in a way that's inclusive and includes everybody. And so I'm really excited about that, to be part of something like this today.
Regent Park Coalition Builder Walid Hodali Ali opened the evening with welcoming remarks. Guests also engaged in a fireside chat discussing equitable land use planning and the importance of community-led development plans.
We're here at the World Urban Pavilion to speak about equitable planning, to address systemic racism and discrimination in the planning process, empowering residents just like you in determining what gets built in their community. So we're right here in the heart of the city in Regent Park to speak to the importance of having community-led development where community is at the heart of the urban planning process. And also to celebrate some recent victories, like the implementation of OPA 558, which is affordability based on income. So I hope you join us at future events and listen to the amazing panel and discussions that we're going to have tonight that's focused on ensuring that community is centered in people and not for profit. So let's have that wonderful conversation today. Yeah, this is an important event because it's an opportunity to not just celebrate our victories by making sure that all levels of government respect an income-based definition when it comes to addressing affordable housing. But it's an opportunity to highlight why Regent Park is advocating for more social housing, for more rent geared to income housing, for a 50-50 split when it comes to market and social housing, so that we could achieve our goal of social cohesion and inclusion. So I'm here to welcome participants from all across the city of Toronto, many of them professional planners, to speak to the Regent Park example and to work with them in solidarity to make sure that we address the housing crisis by investing in communities instead of offering hundreds of millions of dollars in bailouts to for-profit developers. So that's what we're here for, and I hope you will join us and work with us every step in the way to make sure that everyone has access to housing, which is a basic human right.
Toronto Unveils plan to build 20,000 new rental homes on November 13th. Toronto City Council approved a new plan to boost rental housing across the city, with Mayor Olivia Chow calling it an essential step to address Toronto's housing crisis. Passed by a 23-1 vote, the initiative aims to add 20,000 rental units by offering financial initiatives to private developers, including deferred development changes and property tax reductions for affordable units. "We need to build more rental homes now," said Chow, stressing that with half of Toronto's residents as renters, there is an urgent demand for more housing options. The city's plans will first prioritize building 7,000 rental homes through municipal resources, with the call for federal and provincial fundings to support an additional 13,000 units. Now, let's hear directly from Mayor Olivia Chow on this critical step towards easing Toronto's housing crisis.
Neighbors are struggling. Some of them are taking double shifts, have a second job, and they're working hard. Yet they have to, from time to time, say no to the kids when the kids needs extra money for a winter coat or perhaps a field trip or pizza day. And many of them have to rely on food bank. We've seen a lot of report. Daily Bread Food Bank, whose hungry reports, the Toronto Community Foundation report that took the pulse of the city, all of them are saying the rising cost, and even if you make $40,000 a year, it's not living wage, and you are struggling. And one of the reasons why people are struggling, we know, it's because of the housing crisis. That is why it's my number one priority. That is why I'm working hard to deal with this housing crisis. I know the difference affordable homes can make to a life, because when my parents moved to Canada, we didn't have much. My mom was a maid. And as a teenager, we never had to go to a food bank. We never had to struggle the way people are struggling now. Why? Because the apartment that I was living in St. Jamestown, the rent was affordable. No longer. What is happening now is that when tenants move out, or when a company needs to, they want to renovate and they move people out, some face evictions. 50% of Torontonians are renters, and that's half of our city that could be reno-evicted, which is why in this council we have a strong reno-eviction bylaws that we would approve today. A bylaw that makes the landlord demonstrate that they are renovating in good faith and will offer the unit back to the tenant, and that's what we need, and that's why it's one of my items later today or first thing tomorrow. Of course, we can't just be protecting tenants. We need to build more rental homes now. We know that. And unfortunately, the math doesn't work. The market is stuck. The housing starts in September this year are down 81% to last year. Why? Because the math just doesn't work for the builders. The builders like Richard Lyle, who represent all of the builders of residential homes across Ontario. This is Regent. And he's saying that the development charges are so high, the building cost is high, everything is high, interest rate especially are very high, and they can't build. They're also saying that the approval time was too long. So what we did was we sped up the approval time, and that site plan went from 5 years to 86 days. The Ontario plan, the official plan amendment, OPA approval, used to be almost 5 years, is now 115 days. So speeding things up helps, but the interest rate cost is just really making it very difficult. So the first item at council is going to be the rental homes incentive program that provide financial incentives by exempting all development charges on the first 7,000 units of rental homes. 20% of that has to be affordable, which is a third of people's income. This will lower the cost for the builders. And on top of that, we are providing a discount of 15% on property tax for all purpose-built rentals lasting 35 years. If they are affordable, the entire property tax will be exempt. And we met with at least 80 to 100 builders, all the builders in the city of Toronto. We had a meeting with them last week. They are saying, when can you start this program? What do you mean it's only 7,000 units? I said, well, 7,000 is what we're starting now, 100% backed by the city financial means, but we cannot do more than 7,000. We need the federal and the provincial government to step in so that we could offer the other 13,000 units. And that together, we're talking about 20,000 housing units, so that these will be homes. Some of them affordable, some of them stable, where stable income, for people that are working people can afford. So the minute we approve this, probably on Thursday, the portal will open. There's a supplementary report on the agenda today with the portal URL. And I know that many builders are going to rush in and say that I'm going to claim the 7,000 units. Not all of them. Not one developers can do all of them. We're limiting that to, because we're worried, because there were people who said, we'll take the entire 7,000, one developer. No, each can only have 2 projects up to, so it'll be up to 7,000. And so we can't afford to have the housing pipeline dry up because of the difficult market conditions. We need to see these rental homes built, and we will work with the industry to make it happen. When the portal opens, the staff will evaluate, and then they will approve. They don't even have to come back to council to approve these units, these 7,000 housing units. So it's going to be very fast. There will be a report back in December to say, here are the projects we have approved, and we see shuffle in the ground happening probably at next year sometime. So that is the way that we could continue to build a affordable, kind and caring city, and that is why I'm working hard to help those that are struggling right now.
Ontario government introduces Bill 223 to restrict supervised consumption sites near schools. The Ontario government has tabled Bill 223, proposing significant changes to the operation of supervised consumption sites. If passed, the legislation would ban these sites from operating near schools and daycares, and require municipalities to seek provincial approval before establishing new locations. Critics argue the bill could limit harm reduction services essential for addressing the ongoing drug toxicity crisis in communities across the province. Ontario Solicitor General Michael Herzner, alongside Health Minister Sylvia Jones and other officials, spoke at a press conference to elaborate on the legislation.
Enough is enough, and our government is taking action. If passed, the Safer Streets, Stronger Communities Act will establish the Community Care and Recovery Act to protect children and their families by prohibiting the operation of drug consumption sites within 200 meters of a school, a licensed child care center, or an early on child and family center. The proposed legislation also requires municipalities and local boards, such as public health units, to obtain provincial approval before making or supporting a request for a new drug consumption site, providing funding for a new site, and prohibits them from participating in the federal government's so-called Safer Supply program, or applying for an exemption for the decriminalization of illegal drugs. Our government will also not fund any new drug consumption sites in Ontario. Ontarians deserve more than a healthcare system that provides people struggling with addiction tools to use illegal drugs. That is why our government, in addition to prioritizing and enhancing community safety, is taking the next step to create a system of care focused on prevention, treatment, and recovery, investing $378 million to create 19 new homelessness and addiction recovery treatment hubs, or HEART hubs. Like existing hub models in Ontario that have successfully provided people with care, HEART hubs will reflect regional priorities by connecting people to more integrated and comprehensive care than the support services previously offered at consumption sites. These enhanced services include primary care, mental health services, addictions care, and other social services. HEART hubs will also add up to 375 highly supportive housing units, in addition to addiction recovery and treatment beds, helping thousands of people each year transition to more stable, long-term housing. Each drug consumption site closing, as a result of our government's proposed legislation, will have the opportunity to convert or transition into a HEART hub to better support the treatment and recovery of individuals with complex needs, including those who are homeless or at risk of homelessness, have substance use and mental health challenges, and social service or employment needs. The application call for HEART hubs recently closed, and we are currently reviewing those proposals, with the goal of opening no later than March of 2025.
Union leaders call for reversal of safe injection site closures in Toronto. Union leaders join harm reduction experts in condemning the closures at a press conference, calling for an immediate reversal.
We are in a public health crisis being driven by toxic drug supply and opioid overdose rates. Closing supervised consumption sites takes our hands off of the wheel and discards decades of research and evidence-based inquiry that shows they work. These cuts will kill. We must do everything in our power to reverse course before the deadly consequences are on our doorstep. It is time to force this choice back onto the Ford government and to value the lives of all Ontarians and all workers. Thank you.
Thank you, JP. Finally, I would like to invite Fred Hahn, President of CUPE Ontario.
As you just heard, I'm Fred Hahn, President of CUPE Ontario. We represent 290,000 members in literally every corner of the province. And make no mistake, the urgent need for safe consumption site supports is an issue across Ontario. From Kenora to Cornwall, from Brockville to Brantford, the loss of services is having an increasingly devastating effect on our communities. I want to thank everyone who's spoken out today so clearly about the dangers of the Ford Conservatives' decision to close safe consumption sites, and what a mistake it is to sideline the voices of community members and frontline workers. We need to be clear that Conservative ideology and pandering to baseless fear is putting our communities at risk. Every day people are dying from toxic drug death. The entire Conservative caucus is blatantly ignoring the mounds of evidence-based research, policies and practices, and the urgent voice of advocates in communities and those who work in the sector when it comes to the urgent need for these life-saving services. Community groups and unions have a long history of fighting together to achieve safe consumption sites. In 2017, people were dying on the streets because of the opioid crisis. They were dying because the government of the day was ideologically opposed to the concept of harm reduction. So a collective of more than 170 volunteers set up tents in Moss Park in Toronto to provide safe injection services. They were harm reduction advocates, saving lives of marginalized and vulnerable people who were at risk of death multiple times a day. CUPE Ontario had members among those volunteers. We listened to them and we supported them. And like them, we didn't wait for leadership to come from government. When the weather turned cold, we provided a big winterized trailer to replace those tents. The trailer allowed the volunteers to continue life-saving work that they were doing in that park. And in 2018, the Toronto Overdose Prevention Society opened a permanent safe consumption site across the street from that park. It took the courage of hundreds of volunteers and supports from unions like ours to shame the government into stepping up. Months of action, months of resistance. And in the end, it forced politicians to take action to provide supports that would address the opioid crisis. When the Fur Conservatives were first elected in 2018, Doug Ford said he wouldn't allow any more support for safe injection sites and overdose prevention. He was wrong then. With this campaign, through this open letter, we're here to make it clear that he is wrong again. And we're sending the message that we support harm reduction services because they work. They save lives. And we pledge to keep working together in coalition with activists in communities across the province to stop any ideologically motivated politician to move our communities and our province backwards.
And now for events and jobs in Regent Park community. The Social Development Plan invites you to the SDP Stakeholder Table meeting on Wednesday, November 27th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at the World Urban Pavilion at 660 Dundas Street East, 3rd floor. The topics to discuss will include building a connected community, collaborating for change, progress and challenges unveiled, your voice matters, and shape your future together. Hope to see you there. Join the Citadel, Ross Center for Dance on Saturday, November 23rd at 1:30 p.m. for the unveiling of Moving Elevation, a vibrant mural celebrating dance and community at 304 Parliament Street. Enjoy remarks from Artistic Director Lawrence Lemire, artist Rebecca Rem, and student contributors, followed by refreshments inside. Join the Regent Park Social Development Plan series of listening sessions. The remaining sessions will take place on November 22nd and November 26th. All sessions run from 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. For more information, contact Olanike Solomon at olanike.solomon@toronto.ca. After School Homework Club, starting September 12th to May 2025. Every Thursday from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the 50 Regent Park Boulevard ground floor. Ages 7 to 18 years old are welcomed. York University Tutors. To register, email Felicia White at feliciawhite@torontohousing.ca. Tridel is offering job opportunities for Regent Park residents. For more information, visit tridelcommunityworks.com. Apply now. And that's all for events and jobs. Hope to see you there.
And that was all for today's show. I'm Fred, and I've been joined by my co-hosts Gabriel, Marcelo, and Kedar. And we'll see you all next week.
Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And please follow our social media platforms. For more information, check out our website.